Welcome back to the Immersive English Podcast, episode 4. My name is David, and I'm your host. Today's episode is going to be a lesson in common English expressions or idioms. So you're going to hear a narrative. It's about 11 minutes long, and peppered throughout that narrative will be 7 common English expressions. So I want you to listen for those expressions and see if you can determine what they mean based on the context that you hear them in. Or maybe you already know the meaning of these expressions. So as you listen, you're going to hear 7 idioms, like I said, and they are the benefit of the doubt, to give someone the benefit of the doubt. Beggars can't be choosers. Old habits die hard. To put 2 and 2 together. To strike when the iron is hot. To take a rain check. That's to take a rain check. And the last one, hindsight is 2020. Hindsight is 2020. So make sure you're paying attention and listen for those expressions. As I had mentioned in a previous podcast, when I was in my early 20s, I decided that I wanted to move to Germany and live there for 1 year in order to improve my German through immersion. And at the beginning of this year that I spent in Germany, the first thing I had to do, of course, was to find a place to stay because I didn't want to sleep on the streets and I needed a place to stay. So I responded to an online ad of a group of students who were looking for a new roommate. So it was a group of 4 students who lived in a shared flat or a shared apartment together. One of the roommates was moving out and they needed a replacement. So I responded to the ad and they said, "Yeah, come check out the apartment." And I showed up, and it was August, so it was very hot, and only one of the roommates was there at the time. I'll call her Maria. That's not her real name, but I showed up and Maria was there and she showed me the apartment. I really liked it. It was kind of on the outskirts of town. So it was on the edge of the city, whereas if you went in one direction, it was about 20 minutes to the city center, but in the other direction, it was all just farmlands. So like rolling hills and fields. It was very rural. And it was also one of the cheapest rooms in the city, probably the cheapest room in the city. It was a very small room, maybe 8 meters squared, maximum 8 meters squared. It was very small. And it was only 120 euros a month. So for me, it was perfect. I just had to convince them that they wanted to take me as their new roommate. And I was really sweaty when I showed up because it was so hot out. My German was not very good. I'm not sure what we talked about, but I think Maria thought I was a little bit strange, a little bit weird. But for whatever reason, she decided to give me the benefit of the doubt. And she decided that I was a good enough person to be able to rent the room. And so they said that I could move in on September 1st. And I showed up on September 1st with my army surplus rucksack. It's like this big military style, big green backpack. And that's all I had. I had my backpack and I had my empty room with no furniture. Some of the roommates were nice enough to give me some yoga mats and camping mats, and I just took everything they gave me and I layered it, one mat on top of the other, and that was my bed. The guy that had the room right next to mine, I'll call him Marvin, he decided that I needed some furniture, and for whatever reason, he had this big inflatable beach boat, like this kind of inflatable raft that you would put in a swimming pool, and that you could float around on this raft in the swimming pool. It was really big. It looked like something out of a beer commercial. like a beer advertisement, and it even had an inflatable palm tree to go with it. And so it wasn't really my style, but I thought beggars can't be choosers. So I'll put the inflatable beach boat in my room. It'll make things look a little bit more interesting than just an empty room. And I think my roommates, they thought it was a little bit strange. Maybe one reason for that was that I ate strange foods, because even before I had moved to Germany, I didn't have very much money, and I tried to save money on food. And the cheapest foods that I had discovered at the time were like oatmeal, which I ate for breakfast every morning, and also lentils and beans. And old habits die hard. So in Germany, I continued my diet of oatmeal, lentils, and beans. Oatmeal for breakfast every day, either lentils or beans for lunch and dinner every day. And I would cook the lentils and beans. I would just cook them in water for a really long time until they just turned to mash, like kind of like a mashed potato consistency. But instead of potatoes, I would use lentils or beans. And my roommates would joke that they said that I ate baby poo all the time, that I was eating baby poo because the food that I ate was either just gray or brown or sort of grayish brown. It had no consistency. It looked like baby poo. So that's what they called it. And because this food was not very flavorful, I would put sambal on everything that I ate. Sambal, it's an Indonesian chili paste. It's this bright red chili paste. It's very spicy. And I would put that on everything I ate because I needed some flavor, because otherwise it was flavorless. So my roommates, they were like, why don't you eat more vegetables? All you eat is this baby poo all the time. You should eat more vegetables. And I was like, well, I'm trying to save money on food. Vegetables are expensive. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, you're right. I need more vegetables. I need more vitamins in my diet. It's healthier. And we live in this rural area. There's fields everywhere. This is the fall, so there's vegetables in the fields. I kind of put two and two together, and I was like, why don't I steal vegetables? And so I started stealing vegetables from fields. With some of my roommates, one night we went on a secret potato mission because I think Maria had mentioned that the potato harvest was pretty soon. So if we wanted to steal potatoes, we had to strike when the iron is hot. We had to get them before they were harvested. So we went on a secret potato mission at night, and we got a bunch of potatoes, enough potatoes to eat for a month. So for 1 month, I was able to switch from my regular diet of lentils and beans to potatoes. And I remember one night, Maria, she came home from the disco. She had been dancing, and she came home at like 3 a.m, and she found me sitting in the kitchen just eating a boiled potato with sambal. I don't know why I was eating a boiled potato with sambal at 3 a.m, but that's what I was doing. And then with another roommate one time, we decided to steal some pumpkins because it was Halloween and we needed pumpkins for Halloween. So we went and we stole some pumpkins on Halloween. And so I was able to eat pumpkin mash for 1 month. And I remember one of my roommates' parents came over one day. Her dad came over I think he was helping her. I think it was because she was moving in at the time and her dad was helping her move in. And he came in and I was sitting in the kitchen, elbow deep into a pumpkin, just cleaning the pumpkin out so that I could make pumpkin mash. So I was always stealing vegetables, eating vegetables. I had seen fields full of this green leafy vegetable that looked very much like a vegetable that I was familiar with from the US, which is a vegetable that we just call greens. And greens are just this green leafy vegetable that you cook either with bacon or some kind of pork fat, or you can just cook it in butter and you eat it it's kind of similar to spinach. It's just a green vegetable that you cook and you eat it like spinach. And I had seen fields that were filled with something that looked very much like greens. And so I decided, I'm going to eat some greens. That'll be good. That'll add some vitamins to my diet. So one day I took a plastic grocery sack and I went out to the field and I filled my plastic grocery sack full of greens. I went home and I started cooking them up in the kitchen. And my roommate Marvin, he came into the kitchen. He was making a salad. So he asked me, hey, do you want some salad? And I was like, no, I'll take a rain check. I've got plenty of greens to eat. He's like, okay, you weirdo, go ahead and eat that weird, strange thing. But it was actually really good. I cooked it up. It looked exactly like the greens that I was familiar with. It tasted exactly like the way they're supposed to taste. Only problem was that 10 or 15 minutes after eating these greens, I started to feel really tired. So I'm sitting there talking with my roommate. All of a sudden, I can't even follow the conversation anymore because I'm just feeling really tired. And I was like, hey, man, I'm going to go lay down for a little while. I don't know why I'm tired. It was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but I was really, really tired. So I got up and I sort of stumbled into my room, closed the door, and then I just collapsed on my inflatable boat and slept for 3 or 4 hours. And I woke up later. I slept from probably like 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I woke up that evening and I was talking to my roommate Marvin, whose room was right next to mine, and he was like, hey, what was that crashing sound? I was like, I don't know. I guess I just collapsed on my raft, on my boat that you gave me. I was so tired. And I didn't make the connection at first. I didn't realize why I had got so tired and why I had slept from 3 to 7 in the afternoon. But later, my other roommate, Maria, she saw that I had left some of these greens in the refrigerator. And she was like, hey, what is this weird vegetable in the fridge? And I was like, yeah, those are greens. I found a bunch of greens and I stole them from a field. And she was like, those aren't greens. Those are sugar beet leaves. So sugar beets are these root vegetables that are used to make sugar. And so the leafy part, the green part of this plant is not used. It's just the underground part, the root that's used to make sugar. And so they spray the fields of sugar beets with lots of pesticides and herbicides and other chemicals. And they just spray them with these chemicals so they're covered in them. And I, of course, did not even wash these in water. I did not rinse them off before I ate them. So I consumed all of these harmful chemicals, and that's actually why I got so tired and slept from 3 to 7 that day. Actually, the plant itself is edible, and it's related to the greens that I'm familiar with, but it was the pesticides that were a problem for me. So the lesson here is never eat plants that you can't identify. But of course, hindsight is 20/20, and I didn't know that at the time. And I actually didn't even learn this lesson very well because although this was the first time that I poisoned myself by eating misidentified plants, it was not the last time that I poisoned myself by eating misidentified plants, although that's a story that I'll save for another day. This podcast has been brought to you by Immersive Experiences. That's my company. We offer fun, authentic, and effective ways of improving your English, German, or French. Check out our website, immersiveexperiences.com. That's IMMERSO experiences.com. We have an e-learning program in which you can have video chat lessons with me, an experienced instructor. And right now we're offering a free trial lesson so you can test out the course before paying for anything. And one more thing, special thanks to the Young Pioneers for giving me permission to use their song Citizen Soldier for the intro and outro music to this podcast. Go ahead and check out their latest release on Tiger Farce Ultra Records. Okay, now to the listening comprehension questions. Listening comprehension questions, episode number 4. Question 1. Benefit of the doubt. To give someone the benefit of the doubt. What does that mean? In the context of the story, this was when I went and met my future roommate, and she thought I was a little bit strange, but she decided to give me the benefit of the doubt. So what does that mean? Question 2, what does the expression beggars can't be choosers mean? Beggars can't be choosers. That was when, in the story, my roommate gave me an inflatable boat, and I said it wasn't really my style, but beggars can't be choosers. Question number 3, it's the expression, old habits die hard. This was in the context of me eating beans and lentils for lunch and dinner every day. And I said, old habits die hard. So what does that mean? Question 4, the expression, to put 2 and 2 together. I used this expression when I was talking about my decision to steal vegetables. So what does that mean? To put 2 and 2 together. Question 5, the expression, to strike when the iron is hot. We decided that we wanted to go steal some potatoes, and we had to strike when the iron is hot. So what does that mean? To strike when the iron is hot. Question 6, to take a rain check. My roommate asked me if I wanted some salad, and I said, I'll take a rain check. I'm going to eat greens. So what does that mean, to take a rain check? Question 7, last question. Hindsight is 2020. What does this expression mean? Hindsight is 2020. In the story, I said, the lesson learned is to never eat plants that you can't identify. But hindsight is 2020. What does that mean? The answers to these questions are posted on our website, immersiveexperiences.com.